Yeah, well, we should start.
We're set, we're good.
So I'd like to call the meeting to order. The Scituate Council on Aging Board on Thursday, June 13th. Welcome, everyone. Why don't we do a quick round of introductions? I'm J.D. Miller, I'm the board chair. I'll go this way.
Okay, Linda Hayes, Director of the Senior Center.
Karen Canfield, Board of Selectmen and Liaison to COA.
Jill Johnston, Administrative Assistant at Senior Center.
Lucille Tarantino, Board Member.
Joan Powers, the liaison for South Shore LD Services.
Betty Johnson, Friends of Scituate Seniors.
Janice Lindblom, Board Member.
Henry Yates, board member.
Janice Desmond, Board Member.
Leslie James, Board Member.
Very good. Welcome, everyone. So we do not have meeting minutes. We were just talking about that before we started. What we may do is send around electronically
On Monday, we should have them.
last month's meeting, and if everyone then responds with an acceptance, then we can post them on the town website. Okay?
We could still have them physically at the next meeting, I think, just to go through that formality, but at least if there's corrections, you can let us know. We could still upload, just in case somebody's looking for them.
Good. So we'll probably do that at the beginning of the week. Which pushes us right into director report.
Imagine. All right, well, thanks everyone for being here. Good to see you. Happy June. Doesn't feel like it though, of course. So I am going to ask, I just noted in my report, I have a brochure I thought maybe I would distribute just to have you look at it first. We haven't started using it, but I think it's done, but comments are welcome, so if there were anything significant. And then also a transportation brochure we're considering sort of enlarging and changing. But as far as,
So these would be to be distributed?
Yeah, right here.
Town hall and here and elsewhere in town?
Oh, well,
or-
we've been wanting to have more
Yeah, stuff.
material,
Yeah.
physical material, and try to make it consistent using the logo, having sort of a brand that people recognize, whether it's flyers or something that they could come in and sometimes people do come in and just ask, do you have any information?
Yeah.
They don't want to commit yet, they just
Yeah,
want
we
to
wanna be able to
usually
give
hand
them
them the
something.
newsletter,
Yeah, wanna be
which
able to give
is
them
also good, but still. So a general brochure with just sort of general information like that. Transportation we've always had. And the reason we're redoing it is because traditionally we would have, the brochure, which has some points on it, but then she'd also need to say, well, here's the consent and release form, here's also our standards of independence and, sort of the guidelines for being able to utilize the transportation. So then is it nicer that we put it in something this size, which is a little awkward and a little different, but yet
But
we
it's
can
one piece.
actually print it.
Right.
So not bad that we've got all this information. We have had one, maybe two comments, that what we produce even in the newsletter, sometimes it's a lot to digest, it's a lot to process. It's a lot of information in the newsletter, it's 2 months.
It's 2 months, that's the big issue.
We've always had to do it that way because we don't, liturgical loses money on us, they say. So the organization who prints for us doesn't have enough advertising to print it monthly, but even if we did print it monthly, it's $800, $900 to mail it
Yep.
every time.
Yep.
So that money we'd have to find. That would be hard. We'd have to actually use the formula grant more, which would be unfortunate. That's a lot more to use. So anyway, that doesn't mean we shouldn't. Maybe we should consider that. But this also, I think it's like, okay, well, how much am I really going to read? It's smallish print. So I'll pass them out. Actually, we could do
So I
that
just want to
now.
come back to,
Yeah.
eventually, these would be distributed library, town hall here.
Well, I hadn't really
Various-
thought of leaving them elsewhere, but we could. Maybe this
They
for
should
sure,
absolutely
the
be
general
elsewhere.
brochure. Okay.
How about
Well,
churches?
definitely,
How about
yeah.
local churches?
Sure. Well, I guess why not?
Maybe
And
one of
that's
them.
what
Maybe
that's
just-
maybe
maybe
that's
just
what I'm
this.
asking.
Yeah.
Not this, but maybe just this.
Instead of just having them here, where of course they need to walk in the door and ask for
Right,
it.
right, right.
You're right. You are.
Yeah, let's get them out there if we're gonna use
Let's
them.
get them out there. So, all right, well, why don't I put them in your hands? I should have just done that. I just didn't want to. Oh, no, take it. Here. Sorry. Here's, So we had a little help starting the smaller brochure, and then got staff input and tweaked it, and also had some graphic help from, so actually two of the senior text work-off people that work with us helped to create this, which is kind of nice. I don't know how politically correct sort of the front is, but I kind of liked it once we came up with that, the old building and the new building, but, you know, maybe that's a little too, I don't know. It's only gonna be for a little while. Yeah.
Very cute.
Very cute, so.
That is cute.
Well, we finally got, you know, a current staff picture. We had another one that had been kindly taken by a photographer
Can't beat that one.
before Jean left, and it was like, oh, we can't use that now, but that was a nice day, and it's a nice photo, and we like that one, so use it while we can. And Jenny takes a good picture along with Norm, so we thought those were good photos.
Do you also distribute the newsletter electronically, or is there a way for people to opt into that and out of the paper? Like kind of to reduce
There is, you know, we tried to reduce the mailing number, but, you know, given, we want to make sure it gets into people's hands, so we'd rather mail it, but at the same time, and it's on the back of the newsletter, it tells them how to get it electronically. There's two ways. One is through the website that Liturgical uses, and yes, they can even sign up for emails to be told when
Yeah.
it's done.
When it's available.
Or you can
It's a
see
PDF,
all
you can
of the
just open and
newsletters.
copy.
Right.
It's nice. We also, Jill puts it on the town website once it's ready to go. It doesn't have to be mailed yet, it just has to be published.
Right.
So it's there early. If people do look for it, that actually is earlier than waiting for it in the mail. We could put a little notice on, you know, I suppose we could do a little.
So we should give this a read and let you know.
If you don't mind, so, and then back to the transportation one again, there's a lot of information.
Maybe ask Karen about that, because people in town can sign up for notifications.
Yes.
So,
Oh, add
Oh,
that to
through
the,
the
So
Town of
could it
Scituate
be
website.
like linked that Linda sends the,
I can check the way that is set up to if the agenda, for agendas and
Yeah.
minutes.
and
Right.
But I can check,
So-
I can check to
I
see
didn't mean,
if we can make it a box, why not? Same with the
Yeah.
library,
Council on Aging, yeah, could be that.
or the schools for that matter. That's a good question.
Sure.
Don't
So-
know the answer, I will ask them.
We do rely on, you know, by telling them in the newsletter, we assume they're seeing that and they're using online resources and are comfortable and then just do it themselves, but it is nice. You get the alerts. Okay, yes, so as far as the transportation one, you know, comments are welcome, just because I was a little on the fence whether it's nicer. Okay, I have this, I sign it, maybe I put this in a file, I see a smaller brochure that I'm used to looking at. How much do you think we should have them reading and keeping? They would have to take one piece of it off and give it back to us, and then they keep the rest, which is clear, I think, when you look at it. So, anyway, yep, your comments are welcome, just because it's, you know, it's something going on to the
Good,
public.
yeah.
Okay, so our ukulele lessons are going well. It's been great. I think we're on lesson 3, or we've had 3. She's actually able to continue to come. The 2 of them come from Canton area. So it's been a nice group of 14 people, and I think even if others maybe wanted to jump in, if it was ongoing, if she was coming once a month or every few weeks, you know, they could still do that. So it's actually been a lot of fun. I like it, although my fingers are killing me. Yeah. My memory training is ending the end of this month, and in order for it to continue, I would need refunding, and I didn't go through SEF for a second time for that, and I really haven't found it. So we are sort of in search of funding at this point. Whenever I might find a grant that would be useful for it, then I would submit for it. It's $1,500 to relicense for a year. And I think it's been valuable. We had a men's breakfast, which was really great, with not only Dick Flavin from the Red Sox, who really is a great poet, but also Jim Lonborg, who we certainly loved seeing, and he autographed pictures, which was great, and Dick brought his book. It was a really nice book. So he went through them all. People bought them that were here. It was very nice. And a lot of women did come, which was also nice. So we had over 40 people, and we had a great team in the kitchen cooking, along with Maureen, who people know at this point, our kitchen volunteer, but she brought in a caterer who's interested in helping us out maybe once a month. She already does it for Cohasset. So we might go in that direction, trying to have a lunch more regularly, and some of her friends and some of our regulars, so it was very nice. Pickleball play, just to mention it, so for the summer, which is happening faster than I remembered, so really next week is summer. Jenkins closes, so we are able to use the recreation gym same times, Monday and Wednesday, 4 to 6. We wanted a morning, I would say, and we can't get a morning. We can't get a morning through Jenkins, we can't get a morning or daytime at all, really, other than 4 o'clock at the rec gym either, or at the high school. So the only option is, we now have learned, which is great, that DPW, I imagine through Recreation, has painted 2 of the tennis courts at Gates with lines for pickleball, orange lines, which is wonderful. So that's the only sort of morning option in their public courts. It's not really that we're reserving, it's just that maybe there could be a regular time that people do go and enjoy those early.
Veterans Gym or at Gates?
Oh, sorry. The tennis courts at the Veterans Gym. 2 of those courts. I guess.
We're all returning.
Which will be busy during rec department time frame in the morning, because they'll have classes. The kids all morning long.
Well, then that would be the issue. So, just saying, there's not a lot of opportunity. But Betty and several filled the 2 courts, I think, yesterday for a while after work time, and it was pleasant. It wasn't hot, but it was really nice. And nobody else was there, I don't think, at all. Nobody playing tennis, nothing.
that it would probably be vacant afternoon on most weekdays, that the rec wouldn't be
That's probably
using it
true.
afternoon.
They probably go from 8:30 till noon.
Well, I mean, the issue really is that it's hot.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
without
yeah.
having a morning, and we even would do a very early morning, we 8, but it's not there. And that's when our participants would be most likely and appreciate using it the most. We just can't get those times, so anyway. But we do have 4 to 6 Monday and Wednesday. Just the other issue with the gym, when it's hot, when it's humid, the moist air gets into the gym and the floors actually get wet and slippery. And people last year just decided, you know what, I don't want to hurt myself. Like when it was a certain temperature, it didn't work. So whether it's just that time more, so. And also, we could have had an evening for badminton, and of course I didn't realize there were no nets up there. Taken for granted. We have nets that we had purchased some years ago that are wonderful at Jenkins, but they are so heavy, it would actually be impossible to move them. I don't even know what we do. It would take an army of DPW guys to move those. But, anyway, so. Our volunteer luncheon is June 21st, which is next Friday, and all of the board, of course, is welcome or invited, or hopefully you got your postcards in the mail. But, so, let us know if you are able to come. It would be great. It's at the Maritime Center, unless too many people respond, and then we'll have to move it to Harbor. Okay, Karen. Karen? Yes?
I love that.
Thank you. I know, everybody usually does. So the other thing we did that I think I did relate to last time was that, there's no charge for the exercise classes that we run in the senior center in June. So, partly it was a little bit of a thank you, partly because I had set aside some money in the formula grant that I hadn't actually, we had reduced the price for one of the classes and people continued to pay. And we had some extra money, a little bit, not allocated. So in another opportunity, hopefully people are taking maybe a couple extra classes or taking a yoga class if they didn't know if they would like, and they don't have to pay $10 or $12. So we hope that works. But the other consideration before the fiscal year is whether we change how we pay the instructors or not. And I do outline it here. But traditionally, senior centers have always done it's money in, money out. If the instructor says, well, let's charge $3 or $5 or $10 for the class and they get 5 participants, then that's what they get. Sometimes that's great, and sometimes it's not so great. So if they do come and do a class and they only make $15, that's not great. So it started to lend itself toward like a guarantee, which is hard to do for us because, well, sure,
It's hard to
we'd
guarantee.
like to, but what if we don't make the money? Where is it coming from? Now, sometimes, and here's the rub, and I do explain it here, but it'd be fine if we said 50, knowing that sometimes we get 75, then we're gonna have a little cushion, and when we don't bring that money in, there's where the cushion comes in. So I mean, therein really is the answer, it's just that when they're used to making more than what we would guarantee, now they have to agree to give that up just in order to make it on the other end. So I think that's the conversation we have to have with them. We could stick to the traditional, that's really the way it works best for us, I suppose, but not necessarily for them. But we want to keep good instructors, you know, it is great and they are valuable, and I just think they want to feel the value of their time and efforts, and in some cases their certification costs, like for yoga. So anyway, just thought I'd explain that. Anybody has any ideas for that, please feel free to let me know. We're also planning a July 4th luncheon, July 2nd. Nicely Enough Life Care, who has been very good to us in terms of sponsoring and having programs here for us. They want to buy a grill and donate it to us, which is
Nice.
great. So they're going to use it that day and leave it, which is great. So more lunches to come, I guess, with the grill. Also, the River Club, and you know, she's done a couple of things for us over the St. Patrick's Day times twice. But now they wanted to wait and do it around Thanksgiving, so it's November 17th, and they're just fully sponsoring a Thanksgiving lunch brunch on a Sunday. And
November what?
November 17th, a Sunday. Sunday sort of Thanksgiving luncheon brunch, where she doesn't want it to cost anything at all, no tickets, no nothing. But we will have sort of a jazz trio or something, and she'll even take care of that unless I have the money.
So it sounds like it's the Sunday before Thanksgiving Thursday, right?
It is close to that, yeah.
And it will be held there.
Yes, at the River Club. Okay, so Age Friendly Steering Committee did meet this week, and we are planning on doing some listening sessions with naturally occurring groups, community groups, people that already convene that we could go to easily, not necessarily having like a public information session where you have to talk them into coming, but where they exist already. And just get their input very simply on, you know, what's good about maybe being an older person, do you think, living in Scituate? And what are, you know, 5 or 10 things that are not so great about being an older person? Now, some of these will be older people answering these questions, but it's recommended we actually go, you know, go to the PTOs or go to maybe even students, go to all ages and ask those questions and see what, you know, the general impression of that is for Scituate. And as we've talked about, that's going to help inform the needs assessment, so to speak, of Scituate and how age-friendly it is now and what the recommendations might be for us to pursue through the action plan. So that's the step right now that we would be at. We probably think it'd be hard to gather people or to get to those people in the summer now, so it may be closer to September.
I would suggest letting those audience know what kind of questions
Right.
to think about before they come to be asked those questions,
Yeah.
and they maybe have some answers. Just tee it up for them a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yep. All right, we'll probably meet again. We'll be meeting again anyway. Also, I'd be seeking funding, just noting that for the Aging Mastery Program to occur, you know, that still costs. Materials are $60 a person, and we're out of them now. And also we provide that weekly breakfast when we do the 10-week program. So I'm also looking for a grant for that. So again, if anybody bumps into any, or is aware of any places for funding like that, it could be corporate. I think I'd asked Liberty Bank last year, and I think she had to put me off. So it's possible that we can go back to them or another bank.
How much is it?
Yeah, I'm gonna say around 50. It depends on the number of people, but it could cost $1,500, and it depends if we get 20 people, $60 a person, just for the materials, and then also the cost of the breakfast over the course of 10 weeks, plus a graduation. and a little, we usually give a gift card for successful completers. So it adds up.
Anything we could do on Rotary?
Well, of course, you did give us some money. I
Well,
could
Rotary,
still
a
attribute
Rotary
that.
grant.
Oh,
Yeah, we need to talk about that later.
nice, that would be good. Glad I mentioned it. So then just to recap on, there's not been a lot happen. I mean, since we last met, we had our special town meeting, and then we had the election. Now everyone was sort of aware of what went on there. The architect has completed and submitted application to the planning office, so they had to provide 18 copies of all of the drawings, very technical, to the department, who are then distributing them to all of, every town department, but perhaps close, DPW, I actually had that transmittal form.
Goes to all the building department.
All the building department people.
Everybody that has to sign off on,
Make comments, in fact, so she's waiting to hear back from them with any comments. That all then goes to the planning board before the hearing, so they should get all the material for the hearing, which is on June 27th, 2 weeks from today. But she'll send that stuff out, distribute that stuff next Friday, so they have a week to review before their meeting. The Traffic Rules and Regulations Committee that we in fact met with, or, we had the traffic consultant come, Rachel, the architect, myself, Steve, engineer. So we met with them, and, they were very, very responsive to everything. I think we've done everything that we can do. A lot of what needs to be considered isn't necessarily part of the project, although they have commented to the planning board that, okay, maybe the crosswalk is part of the project, the proposed crosswalk. But then also.
To go across First Parish.
To go across First Parish. But then also there need to be some sort of more safety elements added to make that a safer crossing area, because right now the speeds are fast. So a lot was discussed. They made some proposals to, at this point, I guess, to the planning board for consideration. For the town, it's bigger than them even, that the improvements that need to be considered ultimately will go to the Board of Selectmen. But they would make their own recommendations. So lots of things were considered, Officer Billings, he cares about safety, he doesn't care about cost so much, you know what I mean? Others, DPW says, well, we're not necessarily in the budget yet. So when we're proposing sidewalks on the north side, across from the site, so that people can cut, well, have to be careful about that because the church doesn't want people cutting through from Central Park into their property necessarily in driveway and parking lot to get across. So it sort of means the sidewalk needs to exist where they can walk safely and then get to the crosswalk without going through the church itself. So that money needs to be found, so, or we get on the list for DPW's budget.
Can I just add to that?
Yes.
Yeah, so they officially reviewed the plan and gave the recommendations to the planning board as the process. And in their recommendation, the first phase is to fund the study mostly of the Cudworth, the Yucky intersection.
Yeah.
As a really key thing to get figured out before we have the traffic, so do it at the same time as construction. So that would be, the first recommendation is to do the design study, because that's gonna take an engineer to figure that out.
For the traffic.
For that traffic piece.
Yeah.
And then, as Linda mentioned, is to figure out the logistics of making a safe crossing across First Parish there from a pedestrian standpoint. I was actually very pleasantly surprised that they weren't concerned about the curb cut for the entrance to the senior center as designed. I think that's a very positive thing for the planning board. They were gonna look to that as, is the entrance in an appropriate place and all of that stuff. And so I was very pleased that they were
Okay.
comfortable with that. It
So
was-
did they go in front of you then with that
It goes,
report, or just-
then the planning board will
Yeah.
opine, and then the permits will or will not be issued. But no, it wouldn't come before us, really, it's the planning board.
I see. So you just know that. I think having had this traffic consultant who is,
Yeah,
she's
it's her job.
It's her job, and she's really been able to present the information in a digestible way, in an understandable way, and she feels confident it was satisfactory, but also is the one recommending, well, that yucky intersection needs more study, and that's where a larger study would be important and necessary, really, so.
And that's been on traffic rules and regs radar long before this project, so.
So exactly, which is why.
If that
we-
makes it happen.
Yeah, I know, we keep saying we're the catalyst now, but it's not like people haven't wanted this improved, it's just it benefits both now the site itself, but the community in general, and that's what.
I want to add, I mean, I go to that intersection all the time, and I have my own opinions of what causes traffic issues, but but if that doesn't get done, there are, and I know it's kind of a long roundabout way coming from central housing, but there is a crosswalk for First Parish to the top of the common.
Yes,
And
right,
then
right.
across the Cudworth,
Right.
so,
Mhm.
I mean, I've used that as a.
Potentially, I mean,
People who stop.
it is there and that
Yeah,
was
but there
noted,
is-
it's
yeah.
just, even that's not ideal with the
No,
BPDM. Doesn't stop, do not, I mean, unless
They
someone's
do.
there.
When they go to church too, when they park, they don't use the crosswalk.
No, people park at both gates.
Yeah,
Like
Walk
rocks.
across.
I really do
Yeah.
think the long-term goal is that, and the whole reason we, really like that site for the senior center is that we want all of that part of town to be walking friendly. And so we're gonna, I mean, it'll take some work, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
But I think they've already started identifying places where we can improve it, so.
Great, that is.
I mean, to me, that's a nice problem to have to sort out, because people are gonna wanna go to the library and walk over and do a program and.
That was the idea,
Yeah.
we just have
Yeah.
to make it safe. I know Taylor had the idea, he liked the idea of dead-ending Cudworth at the First Parish end, whereas others would make it one way. I mean, so those are two different options, not the same
I think the
option.
planning board will have a lot of opinions on that.
Yeah,
And the people that live on Cudworth too.
Yes.
Right, and you need to definitely have figure out how it impacts the neighborhood.
Yeah. So, well, that said, we are gearing up for the June 27th planning board hearing, which is also a scenic roads hearing, and the only reason that is true is because to create the new access and egress driveway, we're pulling out some of the stones from the stone wall there. The other existing driveway, well, what they're gonna actually do with it, it's not going to be used, and it's going to become part of the green with just a walkway. So, I don't know, but some of the stones will be taken and reused, repurposed, to create a shield, so to speak, around the generator, to make it
At the end of the building.
more
right?
pleasant looking. So they are reusing them, but anyway, that's why it's a scenic road issue, so they'll be at the same one, where they are. And everybody knows there's a recount next Thursday. So at noon at the high school. And that's taken care of by the town clerk and town council and also volunteer council, so to speak. Mr. Bowen did offer to help oversee and facilitate that because he's done it before several times.
Which is a great cost savings to
I
the
can
town,
imagine.
so.
So it is still
All thinking
costing
that-
some, but would have been more.
We would have had to hire counsel,
Mhm.
in addition to the money that has to be spent on the recount.
The bottom line was, and it did go to town council after this person submitted the paperwork, and they maybe could have said, you know what, there's really no justification for that, but at the same time, they responded with transparency is the better choice, so just do it. That was
Well,
the recommendation.
they also she did have the appropriate number of
Mhm.
signatures,
Right.
which, basically,
I see.
That gives
You
them the
made
right
it,
to-
made it.
there's no
Okay.
denying certified
Right.
petition.
Okay.
So we will do what we are required to do.
Lastly, and not that, design review committee did see, project people, and it was just a courtesy meeting. It was sort of a preliminary courtesy meeting, not an official meeting. So I assumed we'd go back to them, but Karen Joseph tells me, the town planner, that the planning board will decide if we go back to them or not. So they direct the design review committee, so we'll see. I don't really know that. It could be July 9th, but yet it's up to the planning board to tell us what they think should happen. Maybe their questions will be answered, but Rachel had offered to bring a lot of sort of the materials, the look and feel of the materials that they could see for the exterior and whatnot, so I would think they would like to see that, but I don't know for sure. That'll end up happening. So, any questions on that for anybody that I didn't mention? Been a few weeks since sort of the action has been happening, so.
Well,
Oh, I am, oh, go ahead.
Is there a sense of,
Hmm.
planning boards,
You know, the issues for them, I believe, are the traffic and the parking. And I just feel like we do have it covered. Now, I was told that a cover letter is customary. I don't know how we would know that, you know, I mean, I haven't done this before myself. So I am going to draft a cover letter that kind of describes the project, maybe a little of the history, the evolution, the benefits. And she would like us to directly answer to the standards in the application and how they are met. So I will draft it, and then I will let the architects sort of lend their expertise to how exactly they are being met in a technical way. And then hopefully we'll have it done by, again, next Friday when they want to send it out to the planning board. So that was extra, and I just sort of started to do that. And actually, I'd be happy to include you all too, in, you know, just circulating a draft and see what you think about that.
The OPM can be a great help in doing
And he
that.
and believe me, yes,
Yeah,
and you're
because
right.
it's not an unusual thing to ask for that, and
Okay.
they do it for other clients, I'm sure.
Okay, so, yeah, I was going
Take
to
some of
ask
the
him to
burden
see
off.
if he might just want to sit with me and go through
Yeah,
some
I
of
think
that,
the two
which
of
I
you
can
can
do.
do.
He's been great. We got very, I think we did very well with our hiring. We got lucky with very professional. Great. Okay, so that's my piece. In terms of our transportation services, you know, still serve 67 clients one way or the other, and I think last month it was 68. And going back to March, I think it was 70, so we're in the ballpark, not big changes. Medical out of town was increased in May, as was medical in town. So medical, I mean, people do appreciate that part of the service, no doubt. And as you know, we do contract with Social Community Action Council. We just ran for the first time into their inability to provide an end-of-day ride home to someone, and that caused a little bit of some concern for that person who called the town administrator's office.
Yeah,
But,
and me.
looking for Karen. You know what, I mean, we can't anticipate that always. We ask for 5 days advance notice for a reason, because it's not necessarily easy to schedule through them always, and we are trying to start to provide some ourselves, but again, we have limited drivers, and, you know, they're only part-time, so we just sometimes can't do it, even though we do try. So that was one thing. So numbers are good. I think the other thing in terms of money, you know, it's been sufficient. I did ask Gatra, and the executive director is retiring. Frank has made that public. Frank is retiring. Basically, he's been doing this for 40 years. I mean, it's been good to have him at the helm. He knows what he's doing, but it has been a long time, and he is ready to go. Not quickly. I mean, maybe the end of the summer, maybe later. I'm not sure about that yet. But, so he gave us a little bit more money, I think, for the next fiscal year. Not tons, but we still have to work within that sort of budget that they've allocated. And we, not arbitrarily, but we try not to hit the customer, the consumer, with what it costs us for the medical transportation. But some people don't pay and maybe can't pay, and how, you know, it's more than a donation now, but yet it is still, what can you do? So we do have to grapple with that a little bit. We don't ever want to deny service. But yet, we still have to pay for it. so it's a little bit of a conundrum to figure out how to do that, whether there are some who easily can afford it but are getting a great deal, and some who can't afford it at all, even at the nominal request, so not quite sure. Another policy sort of consideration, just the values that we want to have, and used to be you could do it for free, but we really can't now. So, and just a note on Lisa's report, volunteers, the hours, if you do look at that, we had to put in a lot of people's hours that we know weren't in the system. So for my senior center and moving forward, for the new fiscal year, we're determined, like tonight, scanning in, if you didn't mind, and putting in your, 2 hours for the board meeting would be great. And we don't have to do it manually ourselves, even though I know sometimes I even forget to encourage it. And everybody needs a little bit of a reminder, and even our activities. We have 20 people here playing mahjong and only 11 signing in, and we have to ask them to sign in, so it's still a concern. And then outreach, Judy saw 29 people, 45 interactions. She had been the co-facilitator for the Job Seekers Networking Group, which we are going to reapply for, and I think we will get, because in the end, we ended up with almost the best numbers of the 16 communities. We did reach out beyond our borders, and that did net something, but we still had a lot of Scituate people. And also, the reason I asked her to be involved in it as the outreach coordinator was just to make connections with people that maybe otherwise weren't coming. And she did do that. That did happen, and that was a benefit of having the program, so that there are older people, whether they're 55 or whether they're 70, still desiring to work,
Right.
and maybe needing updated skills, or just maybe needing some confidence and some direction. So that is what they're getting. And so there was a total of 58 participants, some success stories of actually people getting employment, lots of good networking, but also we made connection with some people who could use our services, so that was good. And so anyway, that would happen again as of September. Susan Kelly, as you know, who lives in Scituate, has really engineered this and provided this program through MCOA, started it with us, and now she is going to do a program for us in August as sort of a prequel, just a 2-hour workshop for people, kind of the idea of, maybe you're thinking about retiring, would like to do something different, a little bit of a transformation or a reimagining for some people who still want to work, or maybe just have a passion or want to pursue something else that it's time to do. So that could be at 60, 65, 75, it doesn't matter. So she's going to do that for us too. So it'll give us a chance to reach out to people who we haven't connected with, but also serve the people that we're trying to, still provide something significant for. Okay. I think that's it. I hope that's it. You heard me talk, but that's that.
Well, tell us a little bit about the friendly visitor program.
Oh, sorry, missed that. Okay, well, that's been a little bit hard because, having a volunteer has been, I think, sort of the hardest part. And it's also, it could be a lot of work coordinating. So we did have a great volunteer, just so happened to fall into our lap, who we needed to see someone who really wanted a visitor, someone, well into the, I think she's 99. Anyway, and we really hadn't had someone. She has a dog, it's difficult to get someone who's interested and can put up with that, sort of the barking. Safe dog, but just the barking. So anyway, someone is very happy to do that, and we think also will appreciate, be interested in helping to coordinate that, making some matches, maybe trying to recruit some of the volunteers. So we rely on Laura and Jenny to maybe tell us who the people are who could benefit most from the family visitor program. But finding someone who would like to do that weekly, or maybe a little less, maybe a couple times a month, has been harder. So we were happy to be able to say we have something going on now. So, but it is just a visit, in-house in the client's home. Okay, so can move on to.
Anybody have any questions
liaison.
to Linda? A lot of material?
Sorry. I always think it's gonna be short, and then I talk for way too long.
And you're surprised at that? None of us are
So-
surprised. Liaison reports. So, Betty, you're picking up pause, right?
I have nothing to report from boss.
Okay.
I'm just here to listen and take notes.
But the golf tournament's tomorrow.
The golf tournament is tomorrow, that's right. We'll be there at 6:45, and I think we're close to the number that we were looking for.
Close enough.
What's the weather gonna be like?
It's gonna be good.
Good.
It's gonna be a good day tomorrow.
Good. Thank goodness it wasn't today.
There was an unfortunate conflict with another
That was
tournament being
terrible.
planned later.
Oh,
So there's two the same day.
Okay, well, that's terrific. So, well, while we're talking, and since I've got it in my hot hands, I'm gonna pass along a check from the Rotary Club to Foss for
Pass it
tomorrow's
down.
golf tournament. So, yeah, we just got it, so I'll hand it over to you. Joan, Social Other Services.
okay, the meeting on May 7th, we always have a financial report by David Bean. The joint meeting of South Shore Elderly Board and Advisory Council on April 23rd was successful. There was a good deal of information given. Mass Home Care is working on pay increases for workers. Labor Day was May 11th. Elizabeth Chen has been named as the new Secretary of the Massachusetts Executive Office of Elder Affairs, effective June 3rd. The meeting on June 12th, as always, we did a financial report. There will be updates of Mass Health on June 17th. There will be more communications on the internet, including group and vision meetings, continuing training information, and board information. So we're trying to do a lot more information on this, saving paper.
We all, yeah.
There'll be new slides and brochures on the website. They continue to look for a new location because there's not enough room at the present location. The volunteer luncheon was yesterday, June 12th at Lantana's. And that's all for that report. And our community dinner is June 23rd, which is the fourth Sunday. People think it's the last Sunday. The fourth, third, it's going to be the fourth Sunday of the month, so it's the 23rd. And it's going to be at St. Luke's at 5 o'clock. And ham, potato salad, salad and rolls, and strawberry shortcake.
All right, nice.
That's the menu. Did you say Social Other Services are looking for a new building because they've outgrown their space?
Yes. And
Wow.
they thought there might be
Wow.
room where they are, but it's all been rented out already.
Yeah.
Okay, so they just,
So they're like.
they can't get
figure like
other
in
space
2
in
years.
that building.
They think by 2 years they'll probably have to move.
Well,
It's a nice location for them, you
Yeah.
know.
I know, it's easy to get to,
It
because
is,
I go
yeah.
to back roads and it's very easy to get to.
Could they do downstairs, or is that take it up?
I just know that, you know, there's no more room available in the building. And see, they're taking on private
Sure.
clients with insurance companies, that's added a lot more.
okay.
Interesting.
Anybody have any questions for Joan? We'll look over to Karen for anything updated on the Board of Selectmen.
Just a couple of things. Linda mentioned that the recount will be next week at noon.
How long do you think that takes?
There's a
4
lottery
hours?
going
5
on.
hours?
Yeah, I know.
Um,
It's just-
It's, the good news is it's just a recount of one thing on the ballot. It's not a recount of everything. So it's just that one issue has to be, one ballot question has to be looked at. The other good news is that far majority of these are done electronically, so that there's no, it's not like the old days with, you know, missing, you know, dangling chads and things like that. So those things will make it go quicker. The only thing that will slow the process is that if there's an observer who protests. So the observers are perfectly entitled to stand and watch the process and not participate, but to observe, as if they are just, and if you are looking at and you say blank, and somebody who are looking over your shoulder thinks that there's a mark on something, they can say protest, that will be pulled out, and then it will be adjudicated by the process of adjudication. I don't actually understand how that goes, but some other people will make it, I think it's the town clerk actually.
Look at it.
And the town council review that one ballot and decide if the right call was made. That's the wild card. If nobody protests the process, it will go quickly. So we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
When you say quickly, like how many hours?
I'd say quickly could be 2 hours.
Really?
hours.
Yeah, but I don't think it's gonna happen. What do you think, Gordon?
2 hours.
That's the best case?
Rich thinks about 2 hours.
Okay, and the wild card being,
Yeah.
Okay.
So you gotta
Got it.
give them more
Hi,
time
Gordon. At the last Board of Selectmen meeting, which I think you already know, the 2 contracts for town oversight of the building project, which is the OPM and construction management contracts, were approved and signed, so those are now in place, so that's good. We have professionals on the payroll to help with that part of it and to help with things like your presentation. And, the last thing I want to mention is next Tuesday or 2 weeks? 2 weeks.
It's the 25th, I think.
Yeah, that we skipped a week because a lot of the players are traveling this week with the West Cork Coalition, so, our delegation. So in 2 weeks, we will meet and we will review our liaison assignments. I will request that I continue because I'd like to see through the project, but,
It could be
there
competitive.
could be a kerfuffle over that, but just to be aware of that, so that will be in 2 weeks. That's it.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Karen?
Okay.
Gordon, are you pulling a campaign committee update?
Let me come up here. I want to haul it. A few things have changed since we last met, fortunately. And they were all good changes, right, Henry? You got kind of one little hurdle to climb over next Thursday, but I've been in close contact with Kathy Gardner over the last couple of weeks, and the sense is that if it changes at all, it might be 1 or 2 votes, but it's not going to, I mean, the machines are all calibrated before an election. If there were a machine that was doing funny things, the numbers would be way different for that one machine.
Yeah.
And the machines all pretty much had the same percentages of no votes and yes votes and blank, so it's highly unlikely there's going to be any surprises. But we're prepared for it, as Karen just said, there's an opportunity to have, there'll be a reader and a recorder, town people who've run many elections, and it's yes, the person on the side checks off the yes box. We can have a observer watching each of the people doing this, so we do. I have 18 people lined up, 2 people for each precinct, and then we have 5 alternates or 6 alternates, so people get tired of standing, you have to stand, you can't sit, so people get tired of standing, they'll be able to spell them, they go to the bathroom or whatever, so. We got Jerry Kleinbeck, Leslie Sennett, Lou Chin, Henry and Jan Yee, Gretchen Maraki, Carol King, Don Mullen, Val Baker, Les Ball, Janet Fairbanks, Bob O'Callahan, who if you are on Facebook at all, he is Q-Man, Elaine Shinbari, Jenny Kalopoulos, Elaine Gordon, Anthony and Nancy Antonello, and Jerry Kelly. So we've got some good people doing it. We're meeting every Tuesday for the last, I think, year. But there was discussion last Tuesday about, do we really need to be there? And the overwhelming consensus was, yes, we do, because it shows support for the town, for the effort that the town is putting into this process, and it's important that we support it. And I think our best support can be that we're there in presence, not that we don't trust the town. I'm sure the employees, most of these people, all these people have done, elections forever for the town. Some of them, I think, like 30, 35, 40 years. So it's not that we are concerned about issues, but it's part of the process that we've been kind of forced into, and we've been dealt that hand, and we're gonna follow through with it. And hopefully that'll be it after that's done. So I'm glad that I know the town is moving forward, looking at bonding. They signed the contracts with both the principals, the architect, and the Peter. Yeah, thank you. It's been a long year. It's, someone even said, do you think we could put a sign up in front of the Sea Wing saying Citrus Center coming soon? I think we better work on that for a while.
That's a good idea.
Although I did see that the dog park, I guess, they signed up, I guess, in the last day or so. Nice big sign on the chain link fence, they were saying, soon to be here, the Scituate Dog Park, so.
They have private funding.
What's that? Yeah, right. And speaking of private money, most all of the people who have, and thank you all too, I mean, there were lots of people at this table who were very instrumental in getting that override vote to pass. And I've come to realize that override votes are not easy things to accomplish. We've turned down a number of override votes in the years past, and I'm glad we didn't turn this one down. But I think one of the towns on the Cape turned down an override vote for a senior center just recently.
Chatham.
Chatham.
Well, they didn't get to the override, they turned down the project.
Okay, yeah. So, you're all to be thanked and complimented for a job well done. It was really no small task to do it, and we got it done. So, most all of the people who've been on this, we call it the steering committee, have agreed to stay on, and we're, after we've added a number of people to it, we'll be morphing into a capital campaign committee project. Probably in about a month, we get through this recount first and then kind of put our thoughts together. I've contacted an event planner. She's the woman that ran the event at Recovery Rocks last year. She's running it again this year, and she's a very, very accomplished person who knows how to run an event. And we just want to pick her brain a little bit and see what she thinks might be suitable for us. So we're thinking maybe of some sort of rather large kind of kickoff campaign, probably toward the end of summer or September. And something that would appeal to everybody, not just seniors, but would appeal to families and 30s and 40-year-old people and other people, because they're a lot of what we're going to have to rely upon in our capital campaign. So it should be exciting. We'll stay in touch with Linda and involve Linda in the planning stages and see what we can come up with. We'll probably have some other things too. We're trying to think of something that we could do similar to what Library did with their 1,000 Families campaign. We're thinking maybe there's some items in the Sea Wing that we could pull out of there and maybe sell them off as mementos that people might be willing to buy. So I'm going to see if I can get permission to walk through Sea Wing in the next couple of weeks. And I know I've kind of peeked in the windows, and there's tons of stuff in there. Mostly desks and chairs and tons of computer equipment. But maybe there's some things we can salvage. Maybe some things we can salvage that people would be willing to purchase. And so we'll put our. If any of you have any ideas of anything that we can do to help raise some money, and I have kind of a figure in my mind. I don't want to divulge it publicly yet until we kind of put some some meat on the bones. And we're thinking in terms of a 1-year campaign. This is not going to be a 4-year campaign. It's going to be a campaign that will probably run from September of this year to September of next year, which is hopefully about when we'll be shortly be occupying the building. So there'll be a lot of work to be done. I know a lot of people who have been waiting to put their name on a check and make a donation, not knowing if this was really going to happen, now that they know it's going to happen. I think we'll see some people who step up to the plate, and we'll go from there. So that's kind of where we're at. You know, would encourage again anybody to give some ideas, you know, my way or Lou's way. Lou and I will be kind of the ones that will probably be kind of spearheading the effort. I know it can be successful, you know.
Oh, it can be a big
will
help.
successful. What's that?
Big help.
Yeah.
So,
You know, and again, the thought was, why are we even thinking about a capital campaign? You know, thanks to the library people, I think they've kind of set the bar. I think a lot of residents out there expect it, you know. You've seen the comments on Facebook, why don't they pick up the cost of the senior center, the people who are gonna use it? Well, you know, I don't believe that, and none of us here do. But, you know, I think having a good faith effort to raise some money to help defray some of the costs to the town
Okay.
is appropriate.
Right.
And,
Absolutely,
and what?
absolutely,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, so, and
It'll
it
be
can
a
be
big help
done.
and a welcome. It makes everyone feel a little bit better too about the project.
Gordon, have things settled down? I don't do Facebook, somebody tells me that's on, but what's the general situation out there? Are people
Yeah, I
collecting?
kind of pulled away from it myself after the vote. But it is very quiet. The opposition, if you want to call it opposition, is very quiet.
Good.
Lou Chin is our man who's ear to the ground. Lou seems to have thoughts about what their next step might be. I hope it isn't. There have been insinuations of legal possibilities, but I would really hope there's no one in this community that would be willing to take that step, that would oppose this on a legal basis. It would tear this community apart. There's been enough, you know, give and take on both sides in the last 6 or 8 months, the way it is. I don't want to see that
Who does?
flame up again. It's not healthy for the town, so.
Yeah, I think we go full steam ahead with the plan and the process, and
Yeah.
just as with the library where there was concern about that project, as soon as it really started to take shape, community saw the benefit, and
Yeah.
I can't believe that this won't be the same case.
Yeah.
It will be such an improvement
Yeah.
on so many levels.
Funny, in the last few weeks, kind of chasing my granddaughter around the country, watching her field lacrosse games. I happened to be at Plymouth a couple times and down at Harwich, and, you know, seeing the activity of people coming in and out of those centers in Plymouth and Harwich. And it's not just people with walkers and
No.
oxygen tanks walking in and out of those centers. Younger generation people using them, so it's, I mean, we know how successful it's gonna be. And I think there'll be a lot of converts within a year once it's built and functioning and
Big step forward for the town.
yeah, for sure.
Big step forward.
So that's about it.
Very good.
I have.
Very good. Does anybody have any questions for Gordon? Or keep us posted via email as you're doing, et cetera, et
Do
cetera.
you get a sense that there's also going to be observers from the opposition?
There was a training session the other day that Kathy ran. We got, I think, 6 people there, plus there was nobody there for the other side. So I don't know whether they're, you know, have a presence or not.
I mean, that may be a game time decision, is if it's just your folks who show up, there may not be necessary to observe.
Yeah.
But, you know, that would be nice.
Yeah, well, that's
But
good.
I'm glad you're prepared. Can I make one comment, Ben?
Please?
You were very gracious to thank everybody that worked so hard, but I think that especially this board in particular has to thank you for your leadership in getting the override and doing the whole campaign, because I know how much time you and your family has put into it, so thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Any old business, new business?
Well,
We've got on our schedule here, so we want to try to get our,
maybe Karen can help with that. So we had taken time, or we should say Janice had taken much time looking at our bylaws from the past and making some recommendations, and other stuff just sort of got priority.
Other stuff.
Yeah.
We need to go before the Board of Selectmen to have them approved. And now the timing is such that possibly we're getting another board member.
Right.
And then we were proposing maybe to have a couple of alternates and, so,
Which we never really got there.
Right.
You know, I don't
In
think
my
we
house,
had
probably
here.
Tuesday night.
I think there was some woman, there was someone who came to me who seemed to be interested.
oh, true, that might have been
Right,
Law,
applications, I
yes.
should have mentioned that applications for board applications
Yes,
are due
our-
June 21st,
Okay.
which is next week. So
So
if
I don't-
somebody is interested, it'd be awesome if they got that in, so it was just part of the process.
Right. So I
Right.
don't know if anybody's in touch with her, or if that is an
I can
interest.
be
So
in
there
touch with
were-
her, but she's changed jobs or something along those lines, and I don't think she needed to pull away.
Oh, okay.
I see.
And there was someone else that, we could alert that had applied last year and then, there were only the two
I'll
spots.
try to
or
double
one
check
spot.
with her.
That'd be great.
But also, just getting before them, so the meetings, as Karen can attest, after there's the 25th, and then there's one on the 9th and one on the 23rd of July, and I just think if we wanted to have it have any bearing on the board
Yeah.
for the future, we should probably do one.
Well, you guys should ratify anything before presenting it to the board, because that would be the first question, is, has this been approved by the Council on Aging Board of Directors?
Which it was.
Which
yes.
it was,
I think it
yeah.
was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We voted on
We'll
that.
have to go back and just get the date of that meeting.
Yeah.
So in that case, we would just apply to Lorraine.
You would
for,
recommend it, you would send it to Lorraine, it would go in the package, and we would, somebody would present it and,
Get it, yeah, on your agenda.
on our agenda.
Right.
And then-
Yeah, no, we approve.
Yeah, we did.
Perfect.
So I can go back and pull all those details
Okay.
together and.
In which case, we'd want you to be available for it if you would mind, and it could be conflicts, like if it was the 25th of June, we have a PBC meeting, if it was the 9th, we might have a design review committee meeting, so
Okay.
just,
Yep.
Are you expanding to alternates in the?
it's
Well,
proposed, we just.
That's what
if
we
have
voted on
Yeah.
to begin having alternates. I don't know.
If they exist and if it's
Yeah,
relevant,
right.
but it makes sense.
Oh, it does make sense, but I asked that because before we start interviewing,
Right,
we should have a chance to approve the new bylaws so that we know we have those slots.
and that's what I was,
So that, if we get 4 people, we can.
Yeah.
If they become alternates.
right,
Gotcha.
so that's why I think the timing is.
There should be plenty of time, because we don't,
So,
even though
but
the
usually,
deadline's
I
the
mean, as I
21st.
recall,
Yeah.
it's like July 4th, right after July 4th you start.
interviewing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
And
I
it's been
remember-
maybe the August board meeting that someone has started, but last year, it was in September, anyway, the
Yeah.
timing's,
Right, unfortunately, depending on how many, things
yeah,
Yeah, get
take a
So-
long.
yeah, it did take a little while.
pulled up on the agenda.
It might
You know,
be
I'm
July
trying to think how
9th.
to expedite that process.
Right.
Okay.
I have one more clarification. When we first started, it seems so long ago, we started with our little committees, and mine was sort of
Yeah, events. and-
events and stuff. And I'm thinking, we really need to
Yeah.
follow the lead here rather than going off it, right? So
Mhm.
whoever was on my committee will just tag along, right? Wouldn't be a conflict of interest, would it? I don't know.
No, I think representatives from the board should participate in events. that
Yeah,
are marketed.
okay, that's my concern.
Well, the way that we got to where we are now is because we've all worked together, which has not happened in previous efforts, so
Yeah.
we need to continue to do that.
Okay,
Sure.
good.
Yeah,
That's what I
I'll be in
wanted to know.
touch with you, without a doubt.
Good. All right,
Okay, so.
I'll let you know, Janice, what,
Okay,
what
yes,
Lorraine seems to think about, the board's agenda and how much,
I cannot do June 25th.
which is probably too early anyway. Well, not really, but, okay, so no,
I think we've got a meeting then.
but maybe the 9th. We have a PBC, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's gonna
yeah.
be, if we were all gonna go, but Janice can go.
Oh, good to come.
Yeah,
Yes, and I don't know if you all, Tony Vignani is this year's chair.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not sure I know that.
And I saw he's in Ireland. Anybody else from the board go?
Um,
Jim's there.
No, so Jim Bedreau, Tony Vignani, Ron Griffin, a bunch of the West Cork
Yes, committee
delegation.
people, yeah.
Am I forgetting somebody?
Well, John.
Oh,
Sullivan.
Lorraine.
And Lorraine.
Yeah.
That's right, she was representing.
Cool.
Mhm. It's a great group. I mean, our sister delegation, you met most of them, they're great.
Really
Good
job.
I do.
Does anyone else have any comments, issues, ideas?
Okay.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Very good.
All right.